Today we're taking a deep plunge into the issue of epilepsy in our society. And I know you don't want to hear about epilepsy. Hello? That thing that actually throws them and makes a public show of them in shame. Well, that's what you think until you realize that epilepsy is a chronic, non-communicable disease that affects people of all ages. It's interesting to also know that over 50 million people worldwide suffer from this disease, and it's of course expected to be the most chronic and maybe the most common of the neurological diseases that we have around. To take this conversation further, today I have with me Mrs. Adedoyin Oseni. She's the Executive Director of Mary Special Needs Foundation. She shares with me what it means to be a mother of a 26-year-old epileptic son, and of course what led to starting the foundation and how well she's been able to impact our world with teachings and of course a lot of information to help us live very well, and especially those with epilepsy. Let's go have a sit down with her. Welcome with me on today's episode of My Cup of Tea, Mrs. Adedoyin Oseni. She's the Executive Director, Mary Special Need Foundation. How are you, ma'am?
Great. Good to know.
To kickstart my conversation, ma'am, I'd like for you to share with me what it is like working with people that have special needs.
Working with people with special needs, it's very, very encompassing. It is clouded with issues like trying to understand issues of communication, issues with emotions, issues with language, issues with ADHD, which people call attention deficit hyperactivity. It also involves issues with educational and of course the medical aspect of it you cannot but talk about. So working with people, we also have people with physical disability. Some, theirs is not physical, but it could be something like mental illness. There are different types of disability. So, but if we want to summarize working with people with disability, it's huge, and it also involves patience, understanding, empathy, love, attitude change. If you are able to deploy all I've said, knowing their challenges, I'm sure relating with people with disability will be much more easier than what it is in our environment right now.
You're a mother.
Yeah.
And that's like the first point of call for caring for you. They say when a woman or when a girl or when a lady becomes a mother, something changes automatically. And so it's as though the brain receives a new frequency, all right, to function, because her heart changes, she begins to modulate towards the care and, you know, the growth and development of the little one that she has to care for. So it's interesting to know that you work specifically, you know, with helping to demystify epilepsy and providing care, awareness, advocacy, as well as helping people living with epilepsy. And more so, providing support for the families of people living with epilepsy. This is very, very angelic. I think that's a word I'm looking for. Now, this is it. I'm going to break it down to say, when I was a child, growing up in a Yoruba setting, what we heard a lot was warapa. I don't know if you've heard that before, ma.
Yeah, right?
Yes. And so they will say, ah, oniwarapa, omo oniwarapa, omo yeni warapa. And so beyond understanding what it means to have warapa, what we literally do is to distance ourselves from people who have warapa. I'm going to share a beautiful story of when I was in the university, my first year. And, we usually had lots of students, in fact, too many students to fill in the space provided for lectures. So on this day, while we were waiting for our lecturer to come, a lady just flung herself on the floor and started to convulse. And, a number of us went agog, a lot of people with fear, some people with empathy, some people with care, and some people with laughters, ridicules. Apparently because some people already understood what had happened to her. And because of the construct of the society, to say, hey, warapa, epilepsy. And so some ran away, some went to a rescue, and eventually she got better. But the lady in question, I am not in contact with her today, but I do know that by the time we were graduating, we still used to be, friendly from a distance. I would just say hello anytime I see her, and then she would say hi, and that was the best we had in form of relationship. Now, knowing what I know today, I wish that I took time to find out what it was she was going through. But I never did, because the construct was warapa, so you have to run away from the person. There was the fear of, oh, your life could be in danger if you come in contact with this person. Worse off, that you can actually contact epilepsy from moving so close to such a person that is epileptic. With all of this story that I have shared, I started by saying that you began as being a mother. And of course, the more interesting part of that is that you are a mother to a child with special need. In this case, epilepsy. Kindly share with me how you first discovered that your child had epilepsy, your reactions, your fears, and how you grew through it to be able to become somebody that provides help today.
Thank you very much, Maloney. It's actually been a long journey, but it's like a situation that you call turning lemon to lemonade. This journey of mine, I'm sure I wouldn't have made it if it has not been for the cooperation of the Lord, the enlightenment, the strength, the courage, and the positive outlook which the Lord Almighty gave to me. I wouldn't have also been able to walk this journey if not for my husband, who solidly is there, presently there, working selflessly to make sure that we are fine. So that kind of gave me some courage and stability to be able to approach the challenge that we had. Now, Adedoyin Oseni, today he's 26 years old. Is actually the reason for this charity. He was a treasured child because I had what we call secondary infertility. So it took me another 7 years to get pregnant. So he was most welcomed. Alas, when he was about 9 months old, this very day was raining, and there was a traffic jam, huge one in Lagos, that held people for more than 5 hours on the spot. Thank God I was not too far away from home. So I just left my car on the road, trekked home. On getting home, I found that my son was motionless. My mom also came in to check on us. She said there's something unusual about my son that she can't explain. So we both took him and we ran to the hospital. By the time we got to the hospital, he started jerking. We moved from one hospital to the other, he was still jerking. Until we got to Duro Shileye about 1 a.m., since from 7 o'clock in the evening. Good enough, he came round. But that was when they told us that he may or he might be having epilepsy. And it's like, what is epilepsy? My mom said, what is warapa? I've never seen this. I have never seen it as well. None of the family members had also seen it as well. So we started the journey. Took him from one hospital to Lut, to all the neurological hospitals we know in Lagos. We didn't have the right answer, the satisfying response that we wanted for the poor boy. And this thing continues with him. We were also with Dr. Roberts, who did some EEG tests with him, and he actually confirmed that he may be having, because now they can call it febrile convulsion, but he suspects in the future he may come up with epilepsy. You know, that's a big bombshell. So we lived in denial, anxiety, fear. You don't know, it's like, no, this is not my son. And they're telling you that he's likely to live with it for a long time. After waiting for so long to have this child. And they're talking about epilepsy. Is it hereditary? What can we do? People gave different types of advice. Use herbal, do this, do that. But thank God I have a learned parent. So they said, wow, I don't think you can continue like this. The best thing is to take this boy abroad and let's see what to do in order to help him. So I had support of my boss, Mrs. Williams. He was the auditor, he was the accountant general of Lagos State then, because one day the boy came and he was talking to her and he was coherent. And my boss, Mrs. Williams, said, Doyin, there's something wrong with your son. I said, yes. What are you doing about it? I said, we've gone to several hospitals in Nigeria, and anytime he's got an appointment, we had to take him abroad for his appointment. Then she said, what about the spending, the funding? Is it not huge? I said, well, there's nothing we can do, but just to make sure this guy is okay. So she supported me in securing a medical leave from my office. She made it a point. She met the governor. She told my situation to the governor. And my sister too was also on my case. She called from America. Also my friend, Dr. Mrs. Abimbola Atunda, within 24 hours, the three of them were on my case. And I just believed it was a spiritual calling. Because how can three people at the same time be talking about the same thing? This must be something more ordinary. So I could sense that spiritually, that something is going on. Unfortunately, I lost my mom at the beginning of that year, and we don't know what to do. So that was how we moved to England. So while I was in England, there are a lot of tests that was carried out for him. We went through, myself and my husband, through different seminars, workshops, a lot of educational information. You have a lot of informative books, things you could read in order to understand the trend of what is happening to the boy. We had a lot of series of tests done. So that took me away from the belief that maybe it's a spiritual thing or not. Because now you could see science working. We could actually understand what is wrong with the boy. Because before then, I was actually suicidal. That, oh, you kill yourself and kill this boy. All these problems will just come to an end. But something said, if you do that, the younger brother will never know you. And he will just believe on what's the single story that he will hear, and which will not be me. So I now settled down to say, okay, this challenge is there, but we need to take it positively. And that has been how the fear has actually been eroded. In fear, and what we do is to encourage him. What we do is to support him in all the areas that we think he might need our support. And we shower on him huge love.
There's a book you wrote on epilepsy. I'd like for you to share with me what this book is, Epilepsy Handbook.
The content of the book tells us about what epilepsy is, describes and explains the signs, the unusual behavior that you are likely to see if somebody is having a seizure. The book tells us about how common epilepsy is, causes of epilepsy, diagnosis of epilepsy, treatment of epilepsy. It also explains the function of the brain, how electrical activity affects the brain, which is called the onset of epilepsy. We also have in the book myths surrounding epilepsy, and also what parents and carers should do when they have a child that is experiencing this kind of challenge. So we have that in the book. And the soft copy of this book is online. It's on our website, www.maryspecialneedsfoundation.org.
So I literally just want you to debunk more myths about epilepsy, and of course to give us like a 2 to 3 point guide on what we need to know or what we can do to come to the rescue of somebody with epilepsy if it happens that, well, we're moving on the road and somebody just starts convulsing, from epilepsy. And lastly, to tell me if epilepsy can be cured.
Being as a cause of a generational issue that God is now angry with that family. And I think all is brought down on the fact that there is no information. We don't have information in Africa, in Nigeria. We don't have records. We don't do research. So this thing keeps going around and round and round and round. And that is why the stigma is so high that, okay, if you spit on the floor or you go by somebody who is having a seizure, warapa, if you go near the spit, you are likely to contain it. And of course, whoever hears that does not want to be frotting on them, jacking and twitching on the floor. And they cannot wait for them to be the guinea fowl to say, okay, well, let me try what they are talking about. Maybe it will not even happen. Nobody wants to be a guinea pig. So everybody runs away on the myths that's on what our great-grandfather they've spoken about. But the fact is, if you look at any family with people with epilepsy, the immediate family don't have it. Though there have been instances when 2 or 3 people will be having it in the same family, but people taking care of them don't have it. So that is one of the reasons why you know that this thing that they are saying is contagious. It's not contagious. It's just about the way people have been talking about it. And some of the myths that people talk about is that you don't touch that person, because if the spectrum from that person touches you, you're likely to catch it. That is contagious. It's not contagious. They will tell you that you should, that person, you cannot, when he's having a seizure, they'll put spoon, they'll put salt, they'll put all sorts of things inside the person's mouth. And it's because they see the person jacking, twitching, frothing, bringing, they are looking for something to stop the way the teeth, and they don't want the teeth to go together. And that's why they will say, put spoon in the person's mouth, put a stick, restrain the person, so that naturally that's their instinct. It will not, that person will stop the seizure. And there's nothing like, you don't need to restrain them. You don't need to restrain whoever is having a seizure. They also say it's a rare condition. Epilepsy is common, very, very common. It's just because of our so they don't want people to know epilepsy is very, very common. They say, okay, if that person is having a seizure, the person cannot get married if he got seizure. Once the seizure is controlled, even without that, you have your medication, the person can marry, you can have your children, and all you need to be, they should ensure that that person is under very good Medicare, so that when the person, because already you are carrying another life with you. So if the person is having high blood pressure or other issues, he would, the doctors will quickly know what to do to help the person. So most of these myths surrounding epilepsy is not true. The fact is they are not true. You cannot restrain them. You allow them. You allow the seizure to have its course. But if someone has what we call status epilepsy is that epilepsy wherein the person jabs, the person twitches, the eyes protrudes, the neck elongates, the hands are going, he's jerking on the left, and his breathing is heavy, he's lacking oxygen, he's struggling to breathe, and it keeps going on and on for over 5 minutes. In that situation, what you do is call an ambulance. If it is not up to 5 minutes, you see the person jerking, we call it tonic-clonic seizure. All you need to do is something we call, that's an acronym that we call ACTION. Action. A means action, the spelling of action is ACTION. A means assess the situation. That is that person free from danger? Is he close to the gutter where he can roll into the gutter? You're just making sure the person is safe. Assess the situation. C means while he's jacking and hitting his head. If there's a rock or a big stone there, more damage is done to that person's head. Move closer, put a cushion. It could be his jacket, it could be his bag, it could be your own jacket. It could be anything soft to cushion the head so that the head stops hitting a hard surface and creating more problem for the person. Time the seizure. It is a known fact that if someone is having a seizure and it's over 5 minutes, I think I've lost that, call the ambulance, because the danger is that the person may not recover from that seizure. For now, it is not curable. What people they're saying is, once you know your triggers, you avoid your triggers. Use your medication as prescribed by the doctor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ma. You have taken this as your life, your passion, what you live for. And it is quite interesting to know that you're a professional at the same time, a fellow, a chartered accountant, and to understand that you've had to literally live for this cause. All I have to say today is thank you. Thank you very much for not denying this part of your life. Thank you for rising to the occasion of bringing light to the so much darkness that we have on the subject of epilepsy in our society. If you were in the studio, we'll be raising this cup. This is my cup of tea. And of course, this is your cup of tea. I would both be raising it and be making a toast right now, but you're not here. So I'll just make the toast on your behalf. Thank you for coming on my cup of tea. It's been a great pleasure and honor to have your story. Thank you, Ma. My Yoruba people will say, Ọlọ́run má jẹ́ àrọ́mọ oníwárápá. Tá bá wá rọ́mọ oníwárápá ńkọ́? So, the Yoruba people say, may we not have a child that is epileptic. What if we have a child that is epileptic? What exactly are we going to do in that situation? Now, there are myths that surround this. In sub-Saharan Africa, it is believed that it is an unclean spirit that brings about the frequent seizures that we see all around. Well, Mrs. Oseni has done a great job of debunking most of the myths that we grew up listening to, and of course that are still being paddled around in our society. One key thing for me is you need to take something away from this conversation. And of course it is that if you step on the spit, or if you come in contact with the spit of somebody who's epileptic, you are not going to be epileptic. And of course, it is not communicable. Okay, that said, I equally like to say that there is what you and I need to know about caring for the epileptic. Because of the nature of the seizure, it could just happen anywhere, at the boardroom, in the office, at the market, at school, at church, in the mosque, anywhere. What responsibility do you have to cater to such person when such seizures happen? Mrs. Oseni gave us an acronym, ACTION. And so we can all take this action together and make sure that when seizures happen around us, we are ready and better prepared to take care of our neighbor. Well, that's it on my cup of tea today. My name is Melanie Ishola.